The, nope, just kidding.
It's not red.
You said no.
The August 11th, 2026 School Board Regular Meeting is called to order. Ms. Tresky, please call the roll.
Mr. Cherry,
Here.
Mr. Cactus,
Here.
Miss Littlepage,
Here.
Miss Quintana,
Here.
Miss Trigg,
Here.
Mrs. Watkins,
Here.
Mrs. Zapow.
Here. Thank you to all of those attending the meeting in person and those that are joining us via the RCPS YouTube channel this evening. The next item of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented?
So move. Second.
Moved by Ms. Quintana, seconded by Ms. Trigg. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And the motion carries. The agenda is approved. At this time, I invite everyone to join me in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Now please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On to the personnel list. Is there a motion and a second to approve the personnel list as presented?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Quintana, seconded by Ms. Watkins. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. And the motion carries and the personnel list is approved. On to the consent agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
Moved by Ms. Quintana. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Trigg. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. Ms. Watkins, please tell us about the gifts that have been received by RCPS.
The board, with pleasure. The board accepts with gratitude the following donations. James Madison Middle School received a $2,500 award in landscaping materials and plants through the Lowe's Heroes Program. The award will help enhance the school's outdoor spaces. Madison plans to renovate an existing flower bed, install new landscaping fencing, and replace a tree with these funds. Thank you to Lowe's and their Heroes Program. RCPS received a generous donation of 2 bicycle racks through the Friends of the Blue Ridge and Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission, RVARC, Bike Rack Donation Program. The bicycle racks, which have a combined value of approximately $1,500, will be installed at Preston Park and Morningside Elementary School. Thank you to this program as well. That's wonderful. And to anyone who would like to donate or partner with our Roanoke City Public Schools, we welcome your partnership and collaboration in moving our initiative for helping and developing the whole child in our school division. We welcome you in that initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Watkins. On to citizen participation on agenda and non-agenda items. Mr. Cherry, do we have any signups for agenda or non-agenda items this evening?
Yes, we do have one. We want to welcome those who are here to speak tonight. We're glad you're here. The school board at any time you are welcome to reach out to the board anytime by email at boardclerk@rcps.info or through the community feedback system. To ensure the board has time to address the rest of its business, we set aside up to 30 minutes at each meeting for public comment. This part of the meeting is for us to listen, so the board and the superintendent usually will not respond to comments or questions right away. Instead, please give a written copy of your comments or any other materials to Dr. Seberg. I see here, there you go, raise your hand. All right, he will collect everything and work with the clerk of the board to make sure each board member gets a copy. Please direct your comments to the chair. If a board member asks a follow-up question after you finish speaking, they will also direct it to the chair. We do ask that you be respectful. We ask that everyone use civil, courteous language so we can work together in support of our students. When you come up to the podium, please say your name and let us know whether you live in Roanoke City. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. The light on the podium will turn yellow when you have about 1 minute left, and please wrap up when it turns red. Speakers may not give their time to someone else. All right, and thank you for being a part of today's meeting. Is Barbara Durk here? Did I say that right? All right.
Certainly did. Barbara Dirk. And I am here to celebrate. We're celebrating the first day of school for this year. We're celebrating the 250, which is the celebration of independence of our country from Great Britain. We're celebrating the Constitution. And Roanoke Bar Association, ma'am, Ms. Watkins, is donating 800 copies of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence to seniors of Roanoke City Schools this year because for their government classes, because for the last few years they hadn't been able to have this. So I am doing a PowerPoint presentation that I want to celebrate Constitution Week, which is September 17th through the 21st, that the first thing on Constitution Week is the bell ringing, which is going to be at 4 o'clock on September 17th, which is Constitution Day. And we'd love everybody, wherever they are, to ring their bells because that's when they rang for Constitution Day. We are doing proclamations at localities that we are showing for free the American Constitution, which is a 1-hour movie. It's going to be at the Grandin Theater. It's going to be at 3 p.m. and matinee, and also at 7 p.m. performance. And the school's children are welcome to come. We'd love to have them. But this is a free movie on the American Constitution that we have. The DAR has lots of activities for you. This is, I read the Constitution book for grade schools, and then this one is for the schools too. Let's study and understand the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. That this book says, celebrating the Constitution to commemorate the September 17th, 1787 signing of the Constitution of the United States, Congress has designated September 17th of each year as Constitution Day, and September 17th through the 23rd of each year is Constitution Week. In 204 Public Law 101-447, Section 111 was passed requiring the following. Each educational institution that receives federal funds for a fiscal year shall hold an educational program on the United States Constitution on September 17th of such year for the students served by the educational institution. So I look forward to celebrating the 250, celebrating Constitution Day with you. That the DAR are doing programs in the school. We have the Citizens of the Year, Good Citizens Awards, and the SAR, the Sons of the American Revolution, are for this area, have done the Star, Red, White, and Blue, and the Berglund Center, Red, White, and Blue, and they now have flags at the airport. So let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the school board, thank you to everyone who took the time to speak with us tonight. We value your feedback. Public input matters as we make decisions on behalf of all students in Roanoke City Public Schools, and you don't have to wait for a monthly meeting to share it. You are always welcome to reach out to the board by email at boardclerk@rcps.info or through our community feedback system as well. And on to the superintendent's reports. Dr. White, please provide us your superintendent's updates.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the school board. This evening, we're bringing forward several items for your information, including an update on the 2026-2027 budget and a first reading of policy revisions. Before we get started on our agenda this evening, I would like to highlight a few items for the board and for the public's information. Most importantly, we are excited to welcome our babies back to school today. I told them today, I said, I know you're not babies, I know, but you're my babies and you're our babies, right? So, again, if they're taller than me sometimes and they even have mustaches, but they're still our babies. And we're really, really proud to welcome them back today. We know that it was a short summer, as Mr. Freeman would say, but it was good to see our students and our teachers engaged today. I visited several of our schools this morning, and I can tell you that I saw so many smiling faces, and instruction was already underway, so hats off to our teachers. It was truly a great day today, and we know that just like every year, the first couple of weeks involve a little fine-tuning and with our procedures and working with our community as the entire region gets used to getting students back to school and back into session. But today was a fantastic start. Now, we started today with only 11 classroom vacancies, teacher vacancies, with a total of 51 administrative and professional vacancies. And that means that we are 98.75% staffed for our classroom teachers, and all of our students have plans in place to cover any classes that do have vacancies. Certainly, we are not going to be happy until we're 100% staffed, but hats off to our HR team and to our principals for getting those schools staffed in that way. In addition, we had a great start with transportation this morning, with many of our principals reporting that most to all of their buses were on time. We've come a long way. We've come a long way with that. We did. We had some delays during dismissal, but that primarily centered around our larger elementary schools, which then had a domino effect and a ripple effect with some of our secondary schools. But all in all, it was a good day. It was a good day for school. It was a good day for transportation. So we'll continue to work with our schools on dismissal procedures. Again, everybody just has to get into the routine. But buses across the board today, they were off to a very good start. So again, hats off to Mr. Dowdy, Mr. Perkins, Mr. Williams. I see Zoom in the back as well, so hats off to you. We want to thank our teachers, our principals, and all of our staff for your hard work to ensure that all of our students felt welcome in school today, and that we were able to start the school year off on the right foot. And our central office team, hats off to our central office team. I know that you were out and about in schools today, so thank you for that work to offer your support as well. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first day of school today. The first day of school always represents new beginnings, right? So it's a reset. It's an opportunity for us to reset. It's an opportunity for us to recommit to the work. And so whether or not you're a staff member or you're a student, it's a time, it's a refresh. And that's what makes the first day so special. I still get the first day jitters, and I have had a first day of school for 53 years.
I'm just very excited to see all of our beautiful little faces here. It is good to see that our students are excited. We had a lot of parents come in and reach out to us offering help. I think our teachers are ready. We have done a lot of good work, especially in the last week in preparation for our students. Our classrooms are growing. We have a lot of new students coming in as well, and I think that just speaks volumes of everything that we're doing in our school.
Well, we're here at Wasena Elementary School for a reason, and that is because they're an example of the wins that we're experiencing and that we're realizing in Roanoke City Public Schools. Last year, their fifth grade had a 100% pass rate on the SOLs, and their teacher retention rate is 100%. So all of the teachers came back here, and we're seeing that throughout our school division, where we're making progress in reading, and we're making progress with discipline, and we're making progress when it comes to our out-of-school suspensions. It shows about that hard work and how our teachers, our principals are working together and moving forward, staying focused on the things that matter.
We have a saying here at Wasena: we are trying to show up every day, we work hard, and we are being kind. And that has been our motto for several years now.
Kindness matters, let's remember that. And be sure to listen to your teachers too, okay? Deal? All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day. We're making progress. I'm so proud of our team, and I just want us to continue this momentum.
Many thanks to Alan and RVTV for capturing our day today and being with us throughout the day and to look at all those good moments. And so we're really proud of our team and our staff and our partnership with RVTV as well. Now, as you know, our theme this year is New Chapter, Same Mission, Turning the Page Together. And again, I just want to give hats off to our team for truly working together to turn the page to this new school year. Now, yesterday, in preparation for the first day of school, I shared a video message with families outlining what students could expect as they return to school today and asking for their support and partnership. And our students in grades 3 through 12 also watched a special message from me this morning, and I know that they watched it because I did ask them about it as I visited classrooms today. And they were able to tell me, cell phones off and away, you be kind, don't bully anybody, don't talk about any threats or anything like that. So I know they heard me because they were able to tell me today. And I know that our students will rise to our high expectations, and I'm excited to see their growth throughout the course of this school year. Now, the past few weeks leading up to the start of school have been very, very busy. Many of you know that because you have been there at all these various events that we've had. At the end of July, we held our modified convocation. We welcomed our new teachers, and last week our schools held their own unifying convocation events. And so while convocation was adjusted due to ongoing kind of budget constraints, we made the most of our circumstances. And we received great feedback from our schools about how they enjoyed their time, how much fun that they had together, and their team building activities. And in addition, we structured convocation to intentionally give our teachers more time back in the classroom, which was based on their feedback. That's what they asked for. And so we're really proud to be able to do that. And on Saturday, we also hosted our annual Back to School extravaganza. So more than 1,000 students and families came out to meet their administrators and their teachers and to connect with a record 50 community partners and received school supplies to ensure that they have everything that they need to start the school year off strong. So I want to thank Claire Mitzel, communications team, all of our teams for really working together, all of our staff members who had anything to do with all of those events. You know who you are. I just want to say thank you for making these annual events successful again this year. So hats off to you. All right, so to begin this evening, I would like to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Kathleen Jackson, to come forward to provide an update on the 2026-2027 budget. So with that, Mrs. Jackson, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Mrs. Apel, Vice Chair, Mr. Cherry, members of the school board, and Dr. White. We are bringing this item to you for information. It will be an action item, most likely on your September agenda, but just wanted to bring an update to you in advance of asking you to take any action. So jumping right in, of course, when we requested your approval of the budget, we didn't have a final state budget yet. The General Assembly did not, well, I should say the General Assembly finally approved a budget and then it wasn't actually signed into law by the governor until the 29th of June. So obviously we had to have a state budget well in advance of that. So we did not have final numbers. We used the more conservative of the two options that were on the table at the time from the General Assembly in our final budget. So what you see here is kind of the true up of how the final state budget compares to what we actually adopted in June. So about a $200 and almost $8,000 difference between the final state budget and our budget. This final budget is lower than what we adopted. And I will note that we are using in those numbers the state share of a 2% raise. The state did include up to a 4%, but only if you could come up with the local share to meet that. Otherwise, it's prorated based on what we have approved. So we did have a 2% raise in our budget. So we've factored that in. So, you know, in the grand scheme of our budget, that's fairly close. That is not a concerning variance. Just a reminder I have on here that We are also using an estimate of funded average daily membership of 12,700 in budgeting for that state funding. So we'll be certainly keeping an eye on that. And we did use our projections through the Future Think did enrollment projections for us as we were having to look at rezoning and with the opening of Preston Park. So we did use those projections, but nonetheless, we'll be keeping an eye on that. The first measure of enrollment is September 30th every year. So that's our first look. We're funded based on the March 31st membership number, but that'll give us kind of an idea and see where we are in September. So certainly if that's significantly off from what we are estimating at this point, we'll come back and have more conversation about that. But that is our estimate at this point for calculating state funding. So we have that adjustment as well as at the local level. Of course, we have what the city approved in the city budget on May 11th, and that included local funding of schools at just over $108 million. But on July 6th, City Council did approve reappropriating a portion of funds that had previously been approved to assist us in implementing additional learning space or trailers, learning cottages at both high schools in the amount of $4.3 million. So as I'm sure you remember, we kind of pulled back on that with the change in funding availability and just kind of more concerned about using those funds to implement some additional space that then we would have to come up with ongoing money to sustain. So not wanting to commit to that, we did ask the city if they would allow us to retain those funds and use them for other facility and maintenance needs and increasing our contingency for budget uncertainty. And that was approved by City Council on June 6th. So we will adjust the budget when we bring it to you next month to approve an amendment to the budget. That will be reflected. And then lastly, on July 20th, City Council also reappropriated a portion of capital funds. So last year, if you recall, the city did reappropriate almost $18 million of local funds that were already committed through our capital improvement plan for projects, at least for a portion of projects, including Preston Park, to be used. So this is just the city authorizing us to keep going with that, because obviously those are multi-year projects that cross multiple fiscal years. And so the city has authorized us to keep moving into fiscal 27 with a portion of those funds. So let me say a little bit more about the local funding, particularly the $4.3 million that council reappropriated on July 6th. They did approve that for facility needs, which included $400,000 in maintenance needs that are related to improving ADA accessibility at 6 of our schools. So we are proposing adding that to our general operating budget into the maintenance budget for the 26-27 school year. And then the remaining $2.6 million was approved for larger projects that could take more than 1 year to complete. The Rotec roof replacement at $1.8 million and Monterey elevator modernization and accessibility improvements at about $800,000. So we would propose increasing the budget in our capital fund for those funds so that we can account for those if they do take more than 1 year to complete, so that we can keep track of those funds across multiple years. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at right now, we're looking at the 1.7 added to the local general operating budget of city funds, the reduction of about 200 and almost 8,000 in in state funds, and then the adjustments there, adding the contingency as was approved by the reappropriation, and then the adjustment of that operating funds for the ADA updates. And then on the capital, the local capital fund budget is where we would have those more long-term project funds that were approved of the $2.6 million that we would be adding there. Now, I'll note that we already had a budget in our capital fund of about $4.6 million. That was our projection of what would be left of the original 18 million. So you see there's a bit of a discrepancy between what the city reappropriated and what we budgeted a little more conservatively. Ultimately, when we come back to you and ask you for an amendment here, we'll be looking at what were our expenses, where did we end for sure fiscal '26, so truly what is that carryover? So that amount definitely won't be more than what the city appropriated. It might be at 4.6, we might be good, but we'll look at really where we ended fiscal '26 as we're currently, making sure we're paying all of those bills for any work that was completed through the end of June. So we'll be making sure that that's an accurate number of what truly is left available for fiscal '27 at that point, So that is where we are, and kind of a preview of what we'll be bringing to you next month to ask you for an amendment to the current year budget. And I'm happy to take questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. We'll start on this side. Mr. Cagnes, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Jackson?
One quick question. On the 6.7 that was reappropriated for continuing projects, if our number comes in under that, is that reappropriation project specific, or would that be available for other projects?
There is a finite amount that was available and appropriated, so I do not believe we would have additional available. It's really based on truly what is remaining, and those were for specific projects when they were approved. So, I mean, certainly we could go back to council if we find, there's a lot of variability, of course. We do have some contingency built in there, so if it ends up that the final cost, once everything is done and paid for Preston Park, for example, comes in a little less than what we had budgeted, then we can certainly look at and request permission if we need that for some other project, that kind of thing. That is, we would have to ask permission for that, but we can certainly do that.
And then one question I have, and this is sort of going to be a general comment that I'd probably come back to, is, the $3 million or the $2.6 million that is kind of one-time expenditures that we put in the capital plan for, facilities deferred maintenance. One thing that I would emphasize is looking at ways that we can find and utilize one-time funding for personnel expenses, so investing in human capital in addition to physical capital. So I understand we're not going to put it in the operating budget because this is not a recurring thing, but in general, when we do find one-time funding that becomes available, having buckets to catch that in, that we can invest in teachers as opposed to exclusively using it for, contingency is one thing, but kind of one-time funding to accelerate, whether it's deferred maintenance or additional investment. Having opportunities where we can put that toward teachers, I think, given where we sit now and where the forecast is, would be worthwhile just from an institutional perspective to build that infrastructure and capacity.
We can certainly look at that. Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Quintana? Just watch your mic too when you want to speak.
Me?
Yeah. So that
Oh,
you can-
thank you.
Yes,
I appreciate you like always.
got it. Ms. Watkins?
I'd like to explore what Mr. Cagnes asked. Off top, can you think of any expenses related to teachers that would be one time and that we wouldn't have to find ongoing funding for?
Certainly that's the challenge, that, most of the time, what we would love to put that into is salaries, but that is an ongoing cost. We certainly have made efforts to do bonuses. That would be more of a one-time cost. I personally have sort of a love-hate with that because it doesn't benefit their retirement and that kind of thing, but it absolutely is money in the pockets of teachers. So we certainly shouldn't discount things like bonuses. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind that might be a direct benefit to an employee, but not something that would be an ongoing cost.
And where we can, we routinely try to give bonuses already, so. Okay. And would the timing be right? I mean, would we know that we could use these funds for bonuses at the time that we could give bonuses? You know what I mean? Because, when I'm thinking about when we're shoring up, it's much later than
I definitely think,
bonuses.
I mean, depending on the resources, but if we're talking about, if it's kind of, we're closing a year, we
Right.
find that there's money available, that we might want to go back to council and ask if we can use for a particular purpose, that would be something that would benefit the subsequent year, because it would be after year end that we would know that, but that certainly, because I think it was January this year that we got the original approval for the 4.3, for example, so it would probably be, it would follow a year behind, I think.
And I think historically, we thought about that, asking the city to use money for bonuses. And with them being in a tight situation and wanting to give bonuses to their own employees, we thought better of asking
Yeah,
for
that would
that.
certainly
Right.
probably be
Because
a
if they can't
conversation.
give their own employees bonuses, it would be difficult for them to approve us to
Right,
do the same. Okay, thank you.
discussed, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Watkins. Ms. Littlepage,
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Ms. Trigg,
I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Cherry.
No comments. Thank you, Ms. Watkins, for clarifying those items that I had as well. Just wanted to make sure we can clarify the difference between ongoing and one time. So thank you for your diligence on this, and we look forward to keeping our finger on the pulse as good stewards.
Thank you.
I also wanted to note that one thing that I think I'm proud of the work this board has done during my time on the board is that we have a lot of conversations, both here at the podium, but before getting here, because saying, how do we make the most impact with the funds that we have as they are allocated is a subjective thing. How do you measure the most impact, or both the most positive or the least negative? And so, again, we appreciate and encourage feedback and communication, especially amongst board members and with the community. And I think, we have shown that we try to engage in those discussions to continually, not just one year and it's done, but every year to look at how do we utilize the revenue or the funds that we have to make the most impact. And also, we'll have a lot more budget things today, but I also want to just express my appreciation for us keeping track of, because today we'll also talk about fiscal year 26, and we talked about fiscal year 27, and talked about appropriations, which is just making sure that we have the dollar amounts secured for this year, but also, I know in the ordinance, and you mentioned, I think also that a lot of those capital reappropriations are specified to follow the fact that a lot of capital projects take more than one fiscal year, even though our financial permission slip, times out at the year, but the ordinances have been set forth
I
by
did address
council.
that, you're right, yes, that
Yeah.
was very helpful.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to,
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Next, I'll ask our Constituent Services and Government Relations Officer, Dr. Alan Siebert, to come forward for first reading of policy revisions. So, Dr. Siebert.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. White, colleagues, and folks in attendance and online. Last month was your annual primer on policy and governance, and so you enjoyed or endured that, whichever your perspective was. And tonight, we have basically just part two of the VSBA policy updates. We use, as mentioned last month, Virginia School Board Association Policy Subscription Service. They have a new attorney doing their policy work, and the very large batch that came last month was almost everything from the General Assembly action, but Janelle Loki, their new attorney, has come across some other things, and we think there might even be some more next month. So on one hand, it's a little vexing because we like to keep things in one batch, and it makes it easier and cleaner. But on the other hand, we do appreciate that they're being very thorough and diligent on our behalf. So you have a packet there in front of you. I'm not going to speak to all of them. In fact, your first four policies are just really kind of housekeeping, except they did something kind of interesting with AD, Educational Philosophy, and BDDH, Public Participatory School Board Meetings. They, rather than saying this is the policy, come up with your regulation, they say this is the policy, insert your local things here. So in both those cases, we've been able to put the RCPS pieces into those policies, but maintain the VSBA copyright. I'd like to speak to the 2D. Section D is your financial sections, and so some housekeeping and school activity funds. DJF procurement was a pretty big rewrite. In fact, they didn't even just do a the JO, just massive changes. And really, talking with Mr. Thornton before the meeting and Ms. Jackson previously, our financial team thinks they did a really good job here of taking out some things that had probably been accumulated over the years but weren't directly in the code. So you have a pretty significant update to the procurement policy, and that's on page 16 of your packet. Skipping ahead to page 20, GAA staff time schedules. Some updates via a better understanding of the Fair Labor Standards Act been included here. But this is one where we have for you what we think is really solid. But this is because there's been lots of work by Ms. Chen in payroll. Mr. Collins has been very involved, and as recently, the changes we've had in HR, Mr. Deeds has done a lot of research and come up with some really good ideas to help make sure that we're well positioned here. So we've given you tonight, and page 20 is, we think, a pretty solid version, but there'll probably be some polishing done between HR and Mr. Collins before we bring that to you for second review and adoption next month or next meeting. Skipping on down to page 28, this is student education records. This was also a very significant rewrite. They didn't even do a strike-through version. They just struck out all the old and wrote a bunch of new. And that was because first they were cleaning up the policy, but also the FOIA Council had a ruling saying that while FERPA, Federal Education and Records Privacy Act, has a set of timelines that are federal timelines, the FOIA Council said, well, in Virginia, we say the timelines are less than that. So thou shalt use FOIA timelines as you're doing student records. So that's all been incorporated. The role for responsibility for student records at school division has kind of moved to the OASIS team. And so they really have jumped right in and are working hard on this. And so we feel good about the policy piece. I'll get to the regulation here in just a moment. A couple other things that are noticed there for you. Your policy permits that just like non-substantive changes, cross-references, legal references, that the clerk has the authority to do those after the PGL committee meeting, and we had that. But whenever we have VSBA policies, we do want to give our own team the opportunity to make things better and improve our own local policies. So that last section, there's 2 to talk about and 3 that are pending. So GB and JB, these are policies that were up for 5-year review. I think these will probably be in the next VSBA batch because VSBA needs to review them in 5 years too. But we didn't want to wait on that, so we took a look at those and we think they're solid, and so they can be reviewed and proceed. But I do want to lift to your attention JOBR, JGDBR, and JCAABR. These are 3 board regulations that are not currently in your packet. And here's why. The student records work is still being done by the OASIS team, and they are also, therefore, going to really look at the regulations that implement that effort. And so they want to be very thorough and diligent on that. Similarly, we have some transition in special education leadership. So we want to be very thoughtful in how we look at the policy, the regulation for disciplining students with disabilities. And then also, we've just done a redistricting, rezoning thing. So it's an opportunity to take a look at transfers within the division and what kind of regulations might be appropriate there. The reason it's okay that they're not here for you tonight is because your policy requires that policies have 2 reviews, but regulations only require 1. So we would expect we will have these for you in your next packet for your next board meeting. The other thing that we've asked, however, in the agenda item is if you have any questions or thoughts on any of these that we presented tonight, if you could please give them to Ms. Tresky and me by August 19th. That gives us time to answer your questions, do any polishing that needs to be done before we can expect, hopefully, have adoption on the consent agenda on August 22nd. Lastly, I just want to thank the departments for their work, the PGL committee, definitely Mr. Collins and Kim Tresky for all they do. And again, we have a lot of people in new roles and learning it, and they're really jumping in and latching on to this work. So that's the brief overview. If you have any questions, I'll be happy. And again, if you can also give them to us by the 19th, that would be swell.
All right, on this side, Ms. Littlepage or Ms. Trigg, any questions or comments at this time for Dr. Siebert? And on this side?
No questions.
I just have to say, I don't know what we would do without you.
Yeah.
Just have to put that out there. And thank you.
I concur. But I do also want to thank you for representing our division so well at our legislative positions meeting in Charlottesville last month. I'm on that committee or lead that committee. And
Yeah.
I lead that committee. And you presented so well to our committee. You articulated, very, very well. And it was commented that you, you know, could be writing a bill because you are so good at this sort of thing. And I remember a time before we had you in this position, and I don't know what we were thinking, but very happy to have you guiding us on policies and presenting to us and getting our staff involved. I thought that that was one of the most important things that we ever implemented is the people doing the work having a say in the work, right? Being invested in how we move forward and what the policies should look like. It helps us govern better.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Watkins. Vice Chair Cherry?
No questions. I echo all my colleagues. We are fortunate to have you, and the level of decorum and poise you bring to our division is second to none. So thank you again.
And I would echo all of that, and I would also say, this is organizational discipline. You think strategic plans end up on a shelf and never get looked at again. I mean, there's a lot of policies, and I do sleep better at night knowing that we have somebody who is conscientious and has eyes on it, is going, that we have systems and people in place to make sure that the policies are sound and that what they're doing is they're supporting the work that needs to be done for the division. So thank you very much.
I appreciate the board's patience and engagement, and I appreciate the kind feedback, but we got to give props to Dr. White for envisioning the need for organizational discipline and the importance of this type of work. Of course, not only the policy work, but I also derive great joy from the success we have in the General Assembly and the relationships we have there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. And absolutely, Dr. Siebert has made sure that, we have good position in Richmond. We have great relationships with our elected officials, and that is because of the work that Dr. Siebert does. And words matter, and so it's important that that policy language is, that we're looking at it and that we're keeping track of all of that policy language, because what gets governed gets done. And so we just have to keep track of those words. And so thank you for doing that, Dr. Siebert. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. White. And onto the division financial perspective, Ms. Jackson, can you please present the financial forecast?
Yes, thank you again. Good evening. So we have for you this evening our report through the month of June. So that's the final month of the fiscal year. This is not a year-end report. So I want to start there and just make that clear for the public's information, as we are into beginning the audit process, but certainly not close to closing the year yet. So if you look at the more detailed financial statements that support this overview, we note that it is the June 30 period 12 report. So each month is a period. So June is the 12th period. We have a lot of activity that we might refer to as period 13 that would be happening right now, as we're continuing to pay bills that are for things that happen in June. We have to accrue those back and reflect them in the proper year. Our revenue still kind of getting final numbers on the revenue side. State sales tax comes in 2 months behind, so we'll get June sales tax revenue this month, that kind of thing. So I just kind of want to start there and make that clear, that these are not final numbers, but it is reporting to you as of June 30th, where we ended through that month. So I'll jump right in to, on the revenue side, through our experience through June, we are forecast to be about 6.7 million below budget. That's chiefly on the state revenue side, due to our enrollment numbers being less than we projected. Fortunately, we are also tracking better than budget on the expenditure side, forecast based on our experience through June thus far to be about 6.1 million below budget. So there are still some adjustments, which, as some of you may remember, we had a pretty big one, unfortunately, after year end to make sure we had an appropriate amount in our healthcare liability for year end. So we've been doing some work with our healthcare consultants, so we hopefully won't have that again, but we may need to make an adjustment. We also, another big one, just to put it on your radar, often have a true-up with the city for Children's Services Act, the local share that we are required to fund. So that's sometimes as much as $1 million, so we won't have that information quite yet. So I'll just put that out there that, again, that's not a final number, but at least through June, we were tracking favorably, which is good in case we do have some of those adjustments to make. So we did have an appropriated amount in the general operating budget of $275 million. So based on our experience thus far through June 30th, we are well positioned to be safely within that limit that we cannot spend above. So that is good news. And then if we look at that revenue versus expenditures, very close. We are, based on our experience through June, forecast to potentially be about $600,000 over revenue, expenses over revenue, if we end the year based on that experience with the information we had as of June 30.
Right there.
Yes.
And how much do we have in a contingency?
Okay. We did not have a contingency budgeted in the current year. So.
Okay. Okay.
So that'll, yeah, we'll see where we end.
This is kind of the thing that I was thinking about when we make a decision to give a bonus or something earlier on, and then we end up having to flush out what the real expenses were, and then we're staring at $600,000 trying to figure out where we're going to get it from. Okay, sorry.
Well,
carry on.
That will just be part of kind of our true up at year end as we look at, what we have left that we potentially have to give back to the city, and that might be $600,000 less than it would have been, that kind of thing. So that will be part of that year end process as we pay those final bills and see how that all shakes out. So we'll certainly keep you updated.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yes, that's something we are watching carefully. Yes.
Thank you.
So if we move on to our food services fund, through June, we are forecast similarly to be below budget on revenue, but also expenditures. We're forecast to be about $760,000 below what we budgeted on the revenue side, but tracking better than budget by about 1.1 million on the expenditure side. So we are similarly in safe position when we look at what was appropriated for that fund, 13.5 million. So we're forecast to be about 1.6 million under that based on our experience through June 30. We did budget to use some fund balance in that fund, about $730,000. So were there to be no other revenue or expenditures after June 30, we would only be using about 390,000 of fund balance, would still be using a little bit of that, but not quite as much as budgeted. So looking to be in okay shape on that fund.
This is the bucket that we're allowed to have a fund balance.
Correct. Food services fund is federal dollars that are restricted to be used for food service only. So we're actually required to keep a bit of a fund balance in that fund, and as long as we're not dipping below what is required in that area, then we can utilize those funds to support, but it has to be used to support our cafeterias and food service services. Yeah, thank you. And lastly, just looking at our capital fund, we talked a little bit about that earlier. So again, we had just under 18 million that local dollars that City Council had appropriated to us to use for all or a portion of the cost of projects that were approved in our capital improvement plan. Used just under 10 million in fiscal 25. As of June 30, we had spent about 2.72 million of that. So as of June 30, we had about 5.3 million left. But again, that's where we'll be looking at any bills that have come in after June 30 that might need to be accrued back, that might change that final number for year end. And that is what we have. Well, I'll wait for the financial statement, sorry.
Great.
Roll on through.
That's right, girl.
All right, so thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Cackness,
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Quintana,
No, thank you.
Ms. Watkins, Well, and I'll note, I recall Dr. Jameson pointing out that we actually had to, we were, I think, needed to spend down our we needed to spend down our fund balance for food services a number of years because we were piling up too much, if you will, so. But
During the pandemic, the reimbursement rates were higher, and so we did accumulate a fair amount, as well as with, schools being shut down and not being able to serve as many meals and that kind of thing. So you're right, we have been working intentionally to use those funds on improvements needed in our cafeteria kitchens and that sort of thing.
Ms. Littlepage?
No questions. I would just commend you that being that close to budget at the end of the year is actually really good.
Well, thank you. It's not a final number yet, though, so maybe hold that thought. But so far, so good.
Yeah, give it a couple of months.
No jinxes.
Ms. Trigg?
No questions. Thank you as always, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Mr. Cherry? Yep, none for me, and I will note for next month, this is this went through June 30. Of course, there'll be, like you said, the 13th month, so I'm sure there will be some reporting out on that, but we'll also be looking at, will we get into July of this year? And so if you all recall, this was the first year in 15, maybe 20, where the presentation was financial forecast and appropriation report because we don't no longer carry a fund balance. So at the next one, we will also, our appropriation report will be reporting on what we have spent out of our quarter's worth of appropriation because we only work of the budget that was approved by council. And so again, as we're looking at these numbers, I will, looking at July of 26 compared to July of 25, compared to July of 24, those reports are going to have significant variances, I just in presentation.
Right, we'll make sure and make those updates so that we're reporting appropriately based on what has truly been appropriated at this point and so on. So we'll make some changes there. And certainly we'll be prepared to present that next month, but also because there are some things that are new and need to be presented differently, certainly I will be open to comments or suggestions as we go along. If you think it might be helpful to see this a little different way, we'll certainly be willing and able to tweak that along the way if we need to.
Thank you. And you don't get to go anywhere. So on the financial statements, Ms. Jackson, as we look at the financial statements, is there anything unusual to report?
I don't really have anything further to add unless there are questions about the more detailed information in those reports, other than to just point out and commend to your attention that every quarter we add information on our procurement activity for the quarter. So being that this is reporting on the end of a quarter, June 30, I just wanted to point that out, that additional information is in there for your information about our procurement activity for the last quarter of the year, and then it has a year-over-year comparison for the fiscal year. So that's it.
Any questions or comments from the board? I also wanted to note that as the last year was kind of some of the logistical moving of the literal funds of the fund balance, and so both with that change in the bank account and also with the quarterly appropriations and how those dollars get put into the bank account, something, for example, that I know I've spoken with Ms. Jackson about is our our statement of like the account balances. And I think you had pointed out to me that, the dollar amount in our account now compared to the dollar amount at this time last year is a significant amount less. I didn't make the note here, but I think it's on the order of like 15 to 20 million less or so. And that's because, the fund balance has now been moved. It happened over the course of fiscal year 26. So those are things as we're watching budget and dollars and things that to keep an eye on.
We're continuing to pay close attention to that because that is a different amount. And in fact, have one of our quarterly meetings with the treasurer and city finance tomorrow to stay in contact about how we all need to work together on that.
It worried
I'll be interested in hearing the results of all of that, and because that's one of the things that's really been weighing, heavily on our minds is what happens if we need to pay a bill and the funds are not there yet. So, so thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Ms. Jackson. The statements will be received and filed.
Thank you.
And on to committee reports and ongoing business. So first up, we have the Virginia School Boards Association Code of Conduct adoption. On December 1st, 2000, the Virginia School Boards Association, or VSBA, Board of Directors voted unanimously to adopt a model code of conduct for school board members. Annually, the VSBA Board of Directors requests that school boards across Virginia adopt the model code at a public meeting of the school board. The Roanoke City School Board will read and adopt the code of conduct potentially this evening. So we'll start with the reading. And pick it off. This little page.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And to that end, 1, I will have integrity in all matters and support the full development of all children and the welfare of the community, Commonwealth, and nation. And 2, I will attend scheduled board meetings.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And to that end, I will come to board meetings informed concerning the issues under consideration. I will make policy decisions based on the available facts and appropriate public input.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And to that end, I will delegate authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent and establish a process for accountability of administrators.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And to that end, I will encourage individual board member expression of opinion and establish an open two-way communication process with all segments of the community. I will communicate in accordance with board policies, public reaction, and opinion regarding board policies and school programs to the full board and superintendent.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education, and to that end, I will bring about desired changes through legal and ethical procedures, upholding and enforcing all laws, state regulations, and court orders pertaining to schools. I will refrain from using the board position for personal or partisan gain and avoid any conflict of interest or the appearance of impropriety.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And to that end, I will respect the confidentiality of privileged information and make no individual decisions or commitments that might compromise the board or administration. I will be informed about current educational issues through individual study and participation in appropriate programs, such as those sponsored by my state and national school boards associations.
As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education. And to that end, I will always remember that the foremost concern of the board is to improve and enhance the teaching and learning experience for all students in the public schools of Virginia. Therefore, we all will always strive to demonstrate appropriate behavior and conduct as public school board members. Is there a motion and a second to approve the VSBA Code of Conduct for school board members as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Watkins, seconded by Ms. Trigg. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. The VSBA Code of Conduct for school board members is adopted. Next, we will have Mr. Cherry and Ms. Watkins provide us with an update on the status of the RFP for the superintendent search. Vice Chair Cherry, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to provide a brief update regarding our superintendent search. The board is currently working through the process of drafting a RFP, a request for proposals, which will help us identify and select a firm to assist with the superintendent search. We have been working, myself along with, I guess, my co-chair of this committee, Ms. Watkins. We've worked together to conduct the first draft, and we anticipate tonight that we're going to bring forward that draft in closed session so that the rest of the board can have the opportunity to review. And we do anticipate releasing that RFP within the next week or two. As we move through each phase of this process, we remain committed to being thoughtful, transparent, and intentional about identifying the right leadership for Roanoke City Public Schools. And to that end, I do want to insert that we have an opportunity here to display to the city what healthy succession looks like. And I intend on moving this committee forward to push healthy succession. So we look forward to sharing additional information with our staff, our families, and the community at large as this process continues to move forward.
Thank you very much. And well said, Mr. Cherry, well said. Moving on to reports from committees. So we'll just go down the line, and if you've had a committee meeting in the last month, you can go ahead and give us an update. So Ms. Littlepage, none to report. Ms. Trigg.
I don't have anything to report, but I did send out a message to our new student representatives to wish them a great first day and successful school year.
And when will we finally get them up here?
For 8th.
Wonderful. Got it. And Mr. Cackness,
None to report.
Ms. Quintana?
Nothing yet.
None yet.
Watkins, nothing yet. Mr. Cherry?
Well, no.
Well, you already reported on the superintendent search, that's correct. And as far as the Policy Governance and Legislative Committee, we did meet just recently, and you got a lion's share of the information that that committee went over in Dr. Siebert's presentation today with the policies that the second batch of first readings there. And then also there was a bit of a legislative update where, again, Dr. Siebert mentioned the presentation to VSBA, which Ms. Watkins chairs that committee and gave the shout out to Dr. Siebert for that presentation. And also Dr. Siebert did have prepared and has shared, and will continue to revisit the basic timeline, the legislative timeline that we follow as we go through our legislative advocacy and developing of priorities for the division and that whole process. So I think that is all from committees at this time.
I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Question about the superintendent's committee. Dr. White, when will be your first meeting with your student advisory council?
Oh, that's this quarter. Yeah, so I'm not sure of the date of that meeting, but we do, it's coming up in the quarter, so probably about beginning of October to get them settled first. But yeah, always looking forward to the Student Advisory Council.
yeah.
That's our we have middle and high school students represented, and about 35 to 40 students who always tell me the truth. If you want unfiltered information, all you have to do is ask the kids. It's one of my favorite things.
I
So,
love the fact that you have a committee for the students, the teachers, the
Yes.
staff. You know, everyone gets a voice in this division, and I really love that. And one impressive thing that since we started having board representation from students, is that, you know, we have such great candidates that apply among students to be our student representative. And it was Dr. White's decision to add them to her advisory council if they didn't get selected for this. And so just fantastic, just fantastic.
it's important to have student voice. It's a great thing. September 24th. Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
It feels earlier because it is earlier.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
But
We're
yeah,
getting
just
them in right
excited.
away.
Excited.
Our students have weighed in on so many important topics, everything from the budget to transportation to safety to cell phones.
Lanyards.
Lanyards. We even talked about cell phones today, actually, when we were in one of our schools. So, yes, it's important to hear from our students and get their perspectives. Perspectives matter.
And that's the thing, is that, you know, all of our why has to be the students. Like at the end of the day, the students are the why. And so, I mean, it's just important to hear from them. So, thank you.
Indeed. Thank you.
And thank you for asking about that, Ms. Watkins. On to ongoing business. Is there any ongoing business or reports to share at this time, aside from we already got the update for the superintendent search committee chairs? So on to future business, a lot of dates. Well, we had the first day of school. It was a first day for some. It was a last first day for some. So a wonderful first day of school, and we'll get more reports out about that the next at one of our future meetings as well. And we have some other meetings on the calendar, some closed meetings and special meetings coming up in August, but we have State of the City at Hotel Roanoke at the end of August. And then September 8th is our joint city council and school board meeting. So that one is coming up there as well. And the Preston Park ribbon cutting. So the school is open, but the ribbon cutting is on the 10th. And then we've also got the Mayor's Cup is on there on September 18th. It's on the calendar as well. So check the calendar, and hope to see a lot of you all there supporting our schools and our students. So on to,
Pause
Yeah.
for just a second. I did forget one thing. As a member of the Board Development Committee, I would just ask everyone to please look through, read the board handbook, because, you know, we need to make sure that we understand our responsibility. If there's anything that we need to look at, maybe making revisions to our handbook, we want to bring those up in our discussions from time to time. And I'll be picking some things out just as reminders in some of our meetings, probably our workshops.
right.
But please, just everybody, make sure that you're familiar with our handbook.
Thank you very much. And I think, yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I can't believe I have to say this, but everyone, please pay attention to the weather tonight.
Yes.
Because there could be some weather. We had to watch it last night. I know that Mr. Perkins and Mr. Williams and his team, their teams, they were watching the weather last night and this morning. So we may have some weather. Mr. Perkins, do you want to just give everybody just a quick update? I know that this is a little off agenda, but since we're all together, we should just get an update real quick.
Thank you, Dr. White, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board. We've been advised by Appalachian Electric that they have extra crews are going to be in the Roanoke area tonight because there is a potential derecho that is moving through West Virginia right now. We are worried about it, but we are hoping that the Blue Ridge will bust that up. But if you live through the derecho in Roanoke, I was police chief when that happened, and we had power outages for over a week after that. So just pay attention. And our team had a long night last night because we had 4 schools without power, and so they worked to get all that power cut back on because there's a lot of things that have to go on when that power comes back on so we don't burn up our electrical devices. So just keep that in mind as we go forward.
Everyone, just pay attention to the weather. So we'll, if we need to make any closure or any announcements, anything like that, we are looking at things very, very early in the morning. So we try to make those announcements as soon as possible, certainly before 5:30 a.m. So just wanted to
Thank
put a little
you.
plug in, Madam Chair. Sorry about that.
Well, be safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for the heads up. On to our closed meeting. We have a closed meeting tonight. Do we have a motion for the closed meeting?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. Not yet?
I think. Yes, I think she's got.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you got the closed.
Oh, all right. Oh,
We're good.
okay.
Go ahead, Dawn.
I move that the school board convene in a closed meeting to discuss specific Roanoke City Public Schools officers, appointees, or employees for the purpose of considering such person's assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, disciplining, or resignation pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 Code of Virginia, and to consult with legal counsel and briefings by staff members pertaining to actual litigation pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia, and to consult with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A8.
Moved by Ms. Littlepage. Is there a second for the closed meeting?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Cherry. Is there any discussion? Ms. Tresky, please call the roll.
Mr. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Cackness,
Yes.
Ms. Littlepage,
Yes.
Ms. Quintana,
Yes.
Ms. Trigg,
Yes.
Mrs. Watkins,
Yes?
Mrs. Apel.
Yes. The board will now enter into a closed session to discuss only items within the approved motion. No other board business or decisions will be conducted during this session.